Hey, Tabernacle, it's good to see you. So glad you're tuning in for these Tab Dailies. My name is Seth Bush, and I have the privilege of serving the Manistee campus. I've got somebody new with us today. If you've caught the Foundry Live video last week, you got a chance to see Britton, and the cool thing is that, like, as we talk about seasons, and obviously everybody's talking about the current season we're in with the Corona stuff, but a season that the Manistee campus is in is just this place where I think Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 9. He's talking about this idea of I'll be all things to all people to reach people for the gospel. And as we look at what that means, like for me, like it's this awesome, really invitation to really start exploring where is it that where can we have a better influence in it. And I love that idea, that part of that as we looked at the Manistee community, we haven't dug into the schools yet. We haven't seen Foundry start taking off. Doug Fisher, one of our volunteers, was doing a great job getting a team getting something in place, and now we've brought this guy on board with us. This is Britton Bishop. He is not from the north. Britton, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so my name is Britton Bishop. I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it is currently sunny and 75. So it's been a rough transition weather-wise. I had to buy a new coat, so might have to buy stock in Carhartt if you're smart, because it's getting cold, and it's still cold. I don't care if people say it's getting nice, it's still cold. So I promise you that.
So a certain meme was finding its way around Facebook today that said if you see a Carhartt hat, you either have, what was it, a worker, a hipster, what were the other ones?
Worker, hipster, or I don't remember. It's like worker, hipster, worship leader, something like that.
Yeah, so Britton, we don't judge here at the Tabernacle, so can you self-put yourself in one of those categories?
Yes, all of them.
All of them, I like that.
So seamless transition between youth pastor to construction worker to whatever else that looks like. Actually, I think I'm rocking the brand right now. So.
See, like he's just getting paid for doing Tabernacle dailies. So, hey, one of the beauties, Britton, is that we talk a lot here at the Tabernacle about numbers matter, and numbers matter because each one of those numbers has a story, and that's what we love. Like hearing where people's numbers start coming to life, where those stories start being shared, and then we have engagement, and then we have relationship, and then ministry happens. And so, Britton, like, can you give us a little bit of your story?
Yeah. So, like I said, grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Pretty normal life. Parents got divorced when I was younger. At that point in time, it didn't seem weird to me. Like, I was young enough that it was just like, okay, this is what we're doing. Yeah. So, parents got divorced, and just was a normal kid in all respects. Like, I played outside, I played sports, and as I began to play sports, I'm a little bit bigger than Martin Rizzi, so Manistee, you do have the bigger of the youth pastors. So you're getting your money's worth here.
So, and that's a good tie-in because college football player, Division III, and then there's size jumps as you walk up in division. Yep. So you can guess where Britton's playing at. Maybe that's something hit in the comments. Yeah,
played football. Really fell in love with the game. Started feeling like people really cared about me when I was playing football and was performing well, and that kind of just led into an identity deal for me. I wanted to be the football player, and like I said, I kind of grew up like, I don't know if Oklahoma's South or Midwest. Like the chicken's fried, the tea's sweet, and everybody's overweight.
Yes.
So that kind of sounds Southern to me.
It's all things good. Yeah.
So I grew up there, and football was a big deal, and that was a cool avenue just for me to get my name out there. Yeah. And at that point, just applause and attention became like, it was just addictive. Yeah. And just knowing that people knew who I was, and knowing that whether my home life was going the way I planned on it going or whatever, when I was on the field, none of that mattered, and everybody loved the football player. Mm-hmm. That led to me giving a lot of time and effort to it, and when I had an pretty cool opportunity to go play college football, did that thing for like 3 years or so, and stuff just happened as it does in college, and career came crashing down around me. Had a few shoulder surgeries around that time, and identity was gone completely. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't have those friends anymore, and people didn't really know who I was when I walked into the grocery store a year later. But from that point, I kind of transferred like football player identity to this relationship I was in with this girl, and she became my identity, right? My relationship was completely wrapped up in, or my identity was completely wrapped up into this relationship. And we ended up actually getting engaged. I thought I was so in love with this girl, I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, right? And yeah, that was me being young, and just continued on through that, and went home for a summer, because usually in football you have to stay there for the summer, but at this time we were able to go, I was able to go home now. Go home, work that summer, and I have to go back to school that next semester to finish out some classes, doing my victory lap, 5th year, whatever.
Yeah.
And
the super senior.
Yeah. And so had to finish that out, and she stayed home. So she stayed in Oklahoma. I was going to school in Kansas at this time, so it was about a 5-hour drive, pretty long distance for college kids that really can't afford to do much. So I went back, and at that point, like, lived by myself in this little town called Victoria, Kansas. It was 15 minutes away from our university. It was closer to my hunting spot, so I was like, oh, I'll live here. It'll be saving me gas money.
Priorities, yeah.
And just experienced isolation like I never had in my life. Turned to, whether it was alcohol or prescription drug, it was just like this chemical dependence that I'd never experienced before that just became like normal.
Yeah.
And and I did that for like 3-4 weeks, and I remember, and that doesn't seem like a long time, but I remember laying in my bed one night, kind of having one of those nights, and just remember feeling like, man, there's got to be more than this.
Yeah.
There's got to be more than this. I had no idea what that was, to be honest, but I knew there had to be more. And if there wasn't more, then life wasn't worth living.
Yeah.
And I pretty much decided that night, so I was going to see if there was more. And for some reason, I was like, oh, we'll go check out this big church. And there was a church there, college ministry, awesome college ministry. I remember walking into the church for the first time, and like they were doing like the weird little tunnel thing you have to run through and like high five people. I was like, Christians are freaking weird. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm in. I'm gonna get the free food, and I'm out.
Yeah.
And so I get to the free food line, right? And of course you see somebody you know.
Yeah.
And he's like a leader there, and he's like, oh man, we got you a seat saved. I was like, you didn't even know I was coming. You did not save me a seat. Like, they're lying to you if they say they saved you a seat. I promise. But so I went in, and I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna sit in the back, man. I might have to go. And so I sit in the back row and get my phone out. Start looking at my phone, whatever, and dude's preaching, and I'm assuming he's preaching a good message. It was loud, I know that, and he said some Bible verses. But I remember at the end, he made this like large, like big noise, and it kind of like pulled my attention up from my phone. And at that minute, I was locked. And that was when he started doing kind of his like call to response. And he invited the crowd, whether it be rededication, call to ministry, whatever, or to surrender your life for the first time. Yeah. And I'm from the South, Bible Belt type. Kind of did the middle school thing. Thought I like did church right for like 3 months because the pretty girl was going. But it was in this moment when I've never experienced anything like this since that day. I just started weeping. Yeah. No idea why. Couldn't tell you a word that dude said, and I was weeping. And he's like, if you want to surrender your life to Jesus, I want you to come up front. I was like, okay, sweet, I'll come up front. So I'm walking up front and see this guy, and he grabs a hold of me, and we're just talking, and I just keep telling him, like, I'm exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm exhausted. And he did probably like the craziest thing ever. He was like, okay, cool, let's talk tomorrow. Yeah. And he wanted me to sleep on it. And he didn't want me to make an emotional decision, and he wanted me to make sure this was what I wanted to do. And sure enough, man, I showed up, even though I thought I was going to come into the coffee shop and he was going to be like pyramid, make me run into the coffee shop, like high-fiving, but no, he didn't do that. Went into this coffee shop, and he just got me plugged in, got to go to this men's event, and met a guy there. I'm going to shout you out, man. Trey, if you're watching this, bro, you already know your mentorship and how you lived your life for Jesus, man. That's why I'm sitting here today, I promise. Jesus Christ on the cross and you. I promise you that, man. But Trey got a hold of me, man, and just started pouring in and didn't give up. They talk about the foolish builder in Scripture, why you build your house on sand. I guarantee you, Trey watched me build my house on sand 5-6 times. Yeah. And it just kept crashing down. But as a good mentor does, he just kept letting me build it on sand because his thing was like, until you figure it out, nothing's going to change. Yeah. And Trey was the youth director, youth pastor, whatever you want to call him at this time at this church that I'd been going to, and he took me on a mission trip. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I want you to come be a sponsor leader on this mission trip. I was like, no, you don't. Like, I promise you don't. These kids know more about Jesus than I ever will. Like, and he's like, no, I want you to come, man. It'll be cool. It's going to be construction stuff, just labor. Like, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. He didn't tell me there's going to be a worship night. And so there's a worship night, and uncomfortable, still new Christian Britton is standing in the back watching these kids just worship their face off. These are middle schoolers, high schoolers, and some college students. And I mean, they are just crying out to God like something I'd never seen before. Yeah. And in that moment, it's like God said straight to me, he's like, you're going to be with these kids forever. Yeah. This is what you're going to do the rest of your life. Yeah. And that was when kind of the call to youth ministry was placed in my life. And I struggled with it. I didn't want to do it sometimes, but stumbled my way into some really cool opportunities. I was a youth director in Kansas for about a year. I've had an opportunity for now about a year to travel all over the country and to some remote places across the world and just share the gospel with people. And been doing it for a long time. That I think, right? It feels like a long time. It's been like 4 years, so bear with me. You're probably a better Christian than me. But yeah, and just to give this story some meat, in 2018, I was at a discipleship training, and this guy comes, and he's teaching on the local church. Yeah. And this guy's teaching on the local church, and he begins telling all these stories about these people that live in the woods that just love Jesus. And I mean, story after story after story, and I'm just like on the edge of my seat, like can't wait to hear what's going on next. And the guy gets done, he leaves, and I tell the director of this thing, I said, I don't know who that guy was, but I want to work at that church someday. Yeah. And long story short, that guy was John Vermillion. So in 2018, I placed a desire out there. The Lord saw it, and I said, man, I want to work for that guy. I want to be a part of that. Yeah. And I don't know, with right intentions, I think, to glorify God and just to be a part of a healthy church family that's grinding and knows that they're broken, knows that they're cracked pots, and it's just like, hey, we're just going to keep rolling.
Yeah, so, man, I love that. So part of our Tab Dailies, Britton, is like encouragement. So you're talking about people building on foolish foundations. Was hitting Paul like. What's a little encouragement for someone that, especially maybe right now, feeling like, man, I need a little bit of encouragement.
Right. I think it's just perspective. I was really thinking about this yesterday, just moving here, not getting to meet with my church family yet and having to meet them via Facebook or YouTube, whatever. It's just kind of been
moved here last Friday, church. Okay.
So been here a little over a week, and it's been wearing on me, man. Yeah. It's been tough. I've been trying to put that smile on, like, oh, man, it's good. Let's do this thing. But just being vulnerable and real, like, it's been wearing on me a little bit. But, yesterday just was listening to a song, and it was called Behold the Lamb, and they talked about how our redemption was written on his hands. Yeah. Changed everything. And in that encouragement, I would say, don't make this about you. As simple as it is, as hard as that is to hear, and as probably blunt and honest as that is, this isn't about us. It never has been, never will be. Yeah. It's about Jesus and his story of bringing us back to the Father, and ultimately God being glorified in all of this. And in that song, I just remember I wrote down in my journal, even if he's good. Yeah. Even if he's good.
It's a good word, Britton. Yeah. That's a good word. So, hey, we're going to end on a little bit of a lighter note. Man, you hit us between the eyes there. It's good stuff. Britton and I actually share a love for the Big 12. And if I ever end up missing during rivalry week, Britton, who you got?
Oh, you baby boomer Sooner.
No, we're hook 'em horns, baby. We're hook 'em horns. So hey, part of that, let's run through a little bit of a rundown so people can know you a little bit. Okay, up here you're in deer country. Yep. You come from duck country.
Yes.
Deer, ducks.
Ducks.
Oh, painful. Okay. All right. So we're gonna run through food.
Oh, all of it.
Yeah, done deal. Mexican or Italian?
Mexican.
Meat or potatoes?
Meat.
Attaboy. Let's see, what else we got? So are you hitting the books?
Okay.
Or hitting the streets?
Hitting the books or hitting the streets? I'm in my second phase of life, so I think it's time to hit the books and get off the streets, maybe. I don't know if that's a good answer. I want to be in the streets with the people, like you said, being all things to all people. So Manistee, I don't know what streets I can be running, but
okay, so here we go. Squats or power cleans?
Neither.
They're terrible. See, that's why that's spoken
Mexican food.
I like it. Okay, so Man, I'm killing this. That's an awkward pause that just ruins it. So maybe, Tab, we got to call it quits. We're going to get to know Britton a whole lot more over the coming weeks and years.
Yes, for sure.
As we grind this thing together. And Tabernacle, be encouraged. We love you. And just we want you to hit up the comments. We want you to hit up any emails you need to reach out so that we are, even right now, being one church in many, many locations. Church, we love you. And Britton, any last words for everybody?
Foundry students, but most of all, Foundry students, Manistee, stand up. I love you guys. I'm so excited to get to hang out with y'all.
There it is. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.